Thank you, Minister, you're welcome to the House. Thank you very much. It would have been good to hear your full presentation. It's a very comprehensive piece of work, and clearly you have engaged right across all sectors to try and bring the best possible legislation in this area. Protected disclosure is something that has bothered me quite considerably since I came into this House, because I think that there is a massive misconception out there as to what precisely protected disclosure is and how one should go about making a disclosure. Members of this House and of the Dáil will constantly receive blanket emails from members of the public who have an issue with an employer, an issue with a public service, an issue with whatever, and they always front up the submission as a protected disclosure, and they have contacted everybody in the world to tell them that they're making a protected disclosure, thereby doing away with any chance of protecting their own good names. And very frequently the issue that is raised with members of the Oireachtas is not really conducive to protected disclosures. So I'm delighted that you're putting a commissioner in place, and that will allow people who are uncertain as to how to go about making a disclosure, that they will be able to go through the office of the Commissioner, and the Commissioner will direct them to the correct place. My colleague Senator Garvey just made some reference to people on the front line, voluntary groups. And there is no doubt recent evidence that has come to Joint Oireachtas committees and that has come to members of the Oireachtas individually. There is a desperate need within the voluntary sector to have an avenue in which to pursue a protected disclosure where they believe that their personal safety is at stake, or the safety of their colleagues is at stake. Moreover, about improving the organisation, all of us, and none of us are immune from this, when we're in management positions in organisations, we sometimes believe the protection of the organisation is more important than the protection of the individual worker. And I think you're addressing this in this bill. I think workers will have an avenue to go to make their disclosure. And because of the reporting mechanisms that you've built in, once the disclosure is made, there is a feedback sequence that can be followed. So from that point of view, I think that this is going to be really important. Section 16 there, which protects the individual's identity, excellent piece of work as well. We have all come across, and I have particularly both in my trade union background and in my teaching background and in industry before that, we've all come across situations that needed rectifying. And sadly, the tendency is to isolate the person who identifies the problem and make them seem to be the demon, rather than somebody that's trying to improve the workforce for everybody. So from that point of view, I think this bill will go a long way, particularly with the use of the Commissioner in there. I think it will go a long way. Employers need a bit of education here. Not everybody that's making a protected disclosure is doing so for malicious purposes. I do think, even as a trade unionist, I can appreciate that some people will be malicious in seeking to use this legislation in order to inflict some sort of pain on their employer, and there needs to be protections in there for the employer, or for named people, shall we say, that it's not being used to for a purpose of malice. And I think, in fairness, 99 out of 100 people would never do that. But the important thing here is that we're looking at the person making the disclosure as having given an honest and fair disclosure, and it's up to the employer to prove that that's wrong. So from that point of view, I think that this is really welcome. Alongside protected disclosures, and in the same general area, is bullying in the workplace. And one of the real problems there is for somebody making a disclosure is that they will be subjected to bullying in the workplace. And by its very nature, bullying in the workplace is a cowardly one-on-one act that most people are not aware of. Most people will know that the bully has a street image and has a private image, and in the private image they are horrible people who attack people just not personally, but they attack them from a psychological, from a mental point of view. And there are several instances of people who have taken their own lives as a result of bullying in the workplace. And it's something I guess we need to look at as we look at protected disclosures, because the release of a person's name can ultimately lead to that person being identified, even by colleagues. You know, you take a situation where there's a safety issue, and that safety issue is brought to management. Everybody's been happy enough working away with it, and there's one guy who insists that, for example, the safety rope is in place before the job starts, and things like that. And you can be seen to be a crank, when in actual fact you're there trying to protect everybody else. So I think there's an opportunity here with this legislation to ensure that that information gets back. I would ask you, Minister, that three things. One, that we educate employers with respect to their responsibilities for protected disclosure. Having the legislation in place is one thing, but to educate people as to how to process that is vitally important. Two, that we educate the general public. A member of the public should be able to make a protected disclosure against an organisation, against a particular thing that they observe, without fear of reprisal of any sort. And the third thing, I guess, is to get out there into the public domain what is not a protected disclosure, more importantly than what is a protected disclosure. And if we do that, I think we'll have gone a long way. I compliment you for bringing this, Minister, and I really am grateful to you that you've decided to make your officials available as this bill passes through the House. So if there are issues that we wish to question or to have more information on, your officials will be there for us. And I hope that this bill passes through the House smoothly and that we get it up and running as quickly as possible. And I thank you for your time today, Minister. Thank you.